Morning everyone. Sorry we're a bit late. Just racing around last minute. I thought I was ready an hour ago, but found I wasn't. But anyway, good morning and thank you for joining me today. I've got lots to show you as usual, and so I'm going to crack on. I'm going to get straight into it. The first thing I'm going to show you, it's nothing to do with the teacher set or graduation or anything else. It's a request from Alma, and I think Barbara's having trouble with one of the music notes as well, about getting the cocktail stick in. So I'm going to show you that straight away. Okay, so this is the, you can see on here, I've got all the numbers, on the celebration set here, they are really narrow. There's nowhere to put a cocktail stick without it being noticeable on the top of the cake. So what I thought I would do, I'll just do it with some white paste, is I cut the number out. So I hope you can see this part here. I'm going to move this in a minute. So again, a little bit of Trex on there. So this, as I say, this is the celebration numbers. I'm just going to roll this out. Roll it thin, don't lift it. And I've just chosen the number 6 because that can be a 6 or a 9. You roll it thin and put some Trex on the cutter. So, okay, then press over, give it a little flick. Paste is slightly thicker than it should be, never mind. Okay, and then a cocktail stick just to remove that bit. Oh, what I should have done actually, just move it out of the way. And with the bits that I had left, before I scrunched them up, what I've done is make like a peg. So just cut across like so. And then you turn your number over. Cut a little bit, I don't need that much. Just bring it to a point. And then a tiny amount of glue. So I would use glue for this. You do need to have a nice firm base on there. Pop that on and make sure that's in the right shape. So number 9, I'll show you that one in a minute. But then leave that to dry. So I've done these here. So if I just bring this board back in, I'll just move all that out of the way. Okay, so you should be able to see on here, I've done the same with the music note, so I've made a little peg for that. And that will just then go and sit in your cake. Now I'm thinking, if it's going to go into a sponge cake with buttercream and sugar paste on, how long is it before that peg would go soft? So I'll just move these out of the way. You can see on there, we've done the big the ASO and the little fancy music note, as well as all these numbers. The 9 is there. So what I've done with that, I've just put it on the end so it goes straight, and then that will sort of go into the thing. So what I did, I had a small piece of cake in the freezer. So I just quickly yesterday put some buttercream on it and a bit of sugar paste. And then I've inserted a couple of the numbers. So I just wanted to see how long they'd be in there. So they went in yesterday morning and they're still standing. They haven't keeled over or anything. So I want to take them out now and just see how that peg, no, you see the peg will have gone soft, but that's fine. It is in there. Yeah, so, yeah, the peg will have gone soft. It's not going to come out, but even then, that can go back in and it will hold. But you wouldn't, I mean, if you're going to take them out anyway, It really doesn't matter if they're soft, and it's only icing inside the cake anyway. So yeah, that's fine. I'd be quite happy with that. You could leave them in. I mean, a buttercream cake, sponge cake, you would be using within a couple of days anyway. So yeah, I'd be quite happy with that. So I hope that sort of solves any problems with the very narrow bits on music notes and numbers. Right, so I'm going to crack on now. And the first one I'm going to show you out of the 3 cutters, we've got Graduation, which is a single cutter. That's that one. And then we've got Bookends, which is a single cutter, which is that one. But the first one I'm going to show you is the teacher's set. So I'm just going to check all this out. So we have the easel, we have apple on books, stacked books, a little pencil, and the mortarboard and a book. Now this one I don't use on a children's cake. This is going to be for a children's school thing, so I would use that with the Graduation. So if I just get those out of the way, that little tiny one is an exact replica of this big one. I drew that one, and then later on I put that one in with a teacher's set. So I would use those 2 together. Right, so which I will be doing later. So what I'm going to show you now is like a cupcake board. Okay, so I've done this one, and I've used the apple in the corners. Then I've used, I haven't used that one, I'll put that one over there. So all the little pencils I've embossed in around, and the stacked books are there. So I just, wherever there's an apple, I've gone to the right with the stacked books, and then pencil, 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 and then pencils along. And then you get the lettering. So I've also embossed this into the icing. I'm going to paint that now and show you how to get the lettering on there. Excuse me. So this board could be, if you're going to sort of end of term, youngsters, young children, it could be for them with cookies or little mini cupcakes on, or it could be for the whole of the staff, so you could put it as a sort of a coffee break morning treat board for them. So this could be for all the teachers. So the first thing I'm going to do is just paint this. I'm going to paint it brown. I'm using alcohol, quite a bit of painting today. So let me find the brown, got colours everywhere. So you can do it any colour you like, obviously. Right, and the alcohol, make sure I've got some in there. I didn't top it up, but I think I've got enough. Right, just move all this out of the way. I'm going to try and be as tidy as I can today. That'll be a first, won't it? Okay, so I'm just going around this. Just make sure that you get your paintbrush into the embossed line. All the way down. Now, because I'm painting with dust colours and the alcohol evaporates very quickly. If for any reason you can't use alcohol on a cake, then you can, I only use it because it dries really quickly, and you can use pure lemon extract because that also dries really quickly, and I think they sell that in the supermarkets now. So just a tiny little bit there that I could either scrape away or wash away, because the dust just sits on top of the icing. The alcohol evaporates, the dust sits there, and then you can wipe things away very, very easily. Just put a little bit more in the dots there, like so. Just dry very quickly, as I say, so you have to keep topping it up. I'm just going to go around the edge of this. Okay. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all looking forward to the coronation. Got that coming up, haven't we? And of course we have the bank holiday Monday. far more importantly, it's RM's 5th birthday. So that's far more important. All right. And she loves foxes, so guess what cake I'm making? A foxy cake. Okay. So I've already, as I say, I've already painted all the border. You don't need to see me sitting painting that. So just turn that round. This is a number 5 brush. It's a nice, soft, sable brush. Right, so the centre of this, I'm going to emboss. Oh, no, it doesn't matter, it's covered anyway. A little bit. There, let's try and get rid of that. If you had too much colour, just wipe it off your brush and then you can just go back over and blend it in. Right, so let's put that brown out of the way. So I want to now do the centre of this here. Oh, that's not very good there. When you turn it round and you have a look, you can see all your mistakes. Right, so I'm going to use some flour paste. Just put that up there for now. Okay, and I'll just wipe that off there. Bit of tricks. It's the only thing with dust colours, they do travel around, don't they? I'm sure you will have that problem. Right, so I'm just going to soften some of the flour paste. So I'm using the still using the Renshaw. Use whatever you're used to using. You know, I use Renshaw, but I'm not saying swap or change. But if you do like it, then you know you're the same as me. But just use whatever you're used to using. So roll out, and you take the cutter, tracks over there, and press firmly. Okay, so take that away, and with my little knife, take all this away. I only want the centre piece. So just get rid of all that. Now I'm going to emboss onto this. It's such a long time since I've used this teacher set, and that's one thing that I like about these them mornings now, because if I wasn't doing them, there would be no reason for me to use some of these cutters that we've had out for so long. But I was doing this and I started embossing, and I'll show you in a minute. It says Happy Christmas Teacher, and I on purpose put 2 E's and then a line through one of them and then an A, so it looked as though they'd spelt it wrong. But when I came to do it, I thought, I don't remember doing that on the mould. I must have made a mistake, and we've gone with it. So it did give me a little bit of a fright. Right, so I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So I'm going to use one of these makeup sponges. Now, as you know, I like the sort of cheese wedgie shapes for sticking under arms on models and things. But these are great, the makeup sponges, for what I'm going to do now. Because there's no holes in it, it's a very tight, compact sponge. So I'm going to take, you can do this with any colour. I would suggest you use a strong colour, something like a black or a red or a green, but the strong paste colours. You don't want anything wishy-washy because it won't show. Right. And then you really work that into your sponge like so. That's it. Try not to get this all over my hands at the start of the dem. And then I'll just put that back on. You take whichever. So I've got Happy Easter Teacher, Happy Christmas, happy holidays, teacher, and then the one that I probably use the most of, thank you, teacher. So you just tap that onto the colour. And the reason why you work the colour into the sponge, you don't want lots of colour oozing up the sides. You're just going to emboss that colour on. And it doesn't really matter if it's straight or not. Make sure you've got the thank you at the top. I'll put it like that. So you put it down, you tap along like so, so that you have, you know, a pigeon outside. And you take that off, and then you have your embossed lettering on there. So I'll just turn that so that you can see it. Okay, now that needs washing off straight away, otherwise you'll forget, and when you come to do a different colour you'll have the black on there. So just wipe that clean and then pop them back into your bag. So I'll take that and put it onto my cupcake board, or my party board as it was. So a little water or glue, doesn't matter which. I've got water, use me water. Just go around that. You could leave this to dry if you wanted to, if you thought that would be easier. And then pop that on top. I'll just get that side straight on there. Okay, so there we have our board. Now, the ones that I've done with the apple, say, I'm just going to roll out a little white sugar paste this time, not flour paste, but sugar paste. And these can go on top of the cookies or the little cupcakes. I mean, if they're for children, then you can do little tiny cupcakes. If they're for the staff, then you do big ones, wouldn't you? Oh, I'll just move that sponge out of the way as well. That can go, the sponge can just go into a plastic bag, and then the colour will stay soft on there. So I'm just going to cut out a circle, just a plain circle, and then take the apple, leave that there for now. I should take the apple, and I'm just going to emboss that, the apple and the stack books, onto there. And turn that so that you can see it. You can leave them to dry, or you can paint them straight away. So for the book then, I'm just going to go in with a couple of colours on here. A nice fine, I'll use that same paintbrush there, says there. Right, need my water, clean light brush. And alcohol. Now where did I put my alcohol? There it is. Right, so alcohol, I'm just using the lids because the alcohol will evaporate away. Everything will go back to a dust, and you put your lid back on and you're good to go. Right, so whether this is the side embossing around the board edge or the little cupcake tops that I'm doing now, if you think that's a bit thick, just add a bit more water. Right, so I'm going to have to move my water out there. The pink one, do a couple of colours on there. And then, even though it's white on white, I'm still going to use the white satin, because that, even on the white, it will make the pages stand out. And then switch to a finer brush, and something like a lime green, or this is called orchid white, one of the edible art colours. Okay, so just to put the leaves and the stem on there. Now you can imagine, I did used to cut these out when I had more patience than I've got now. So I just tend to paint them now. Right, so that's that one, and then go back to the number 5 brush and the red. So the red will be in my darker colours under there. So this is poinsettia red. So I'm just going to put on a thin wash first of all on the apple. You see, we know apple for the teacher, but the youngsters probably would rather have a Smartie on top of the cake. But the teachers would understand why there's an apple. But little kids would probably think, nah, I'll have the one with the jelly on, please. Right, so then you're just going to go with a little more dust colour in there and then just swoop that round just to give it a bit more shade, colouring. Just blend that in. I have just gone over that a little bit. I just need to turn that round so that I can see it. Oh, it's all right. If I've gone over just a touch, I'm just going to push that in and it'll take that away. Right, and then that can go on to little cookies. So that's what I've got here, or cupcakes. Let me just move these out of my way. I'll be using those again in a moment. Okay, so that's my board, and then I have lots of these little cookies here. So the recipe that I put on last week on the space set, same cookie recipe, no non-spread. Not that it really matters with this because they're just circles, they're not having to fit in anything else. Another little one there. And so they could go off to the staff room and they've all got a nice little biscuit to have with their for the tea. Now, remember that they can use the boards again. So say to them, you know, I would like my board back, please. And then you can use it year after year. Just put tissue paper on it, store it in a box, and you're good to go. Now, I said I'd show you the thank you teacher. I've done this board here. Don't know if you can see that, but that's the Happy Christmas teacher. And that's the one I thought I'd made a mistake on the cutter when I went to look at it. I thought, oh, don't remember doing that. But anyway, so it's meant to be there. You've got thank you teacher, happy Easter, and happy holiday teacher. Okay, so I'll move those out of the way. And then the other thing you can do, if it's for a graduation, I've done these. So these are more little cookies and a little cupcake, and I've stuck the that one on top, and that's going to go with the graduation that I'm going to do now. So you can do another party board and just do the little graduation ones, not for the little children, but for the ones who have just passed their degrees. Okay, so I'll move all that out of the way. Okay, put those back in there. Right, so moving on to the graduation cutter, this one. Now I've done a plaque here. I've covered the board with this thin card with, well actually it's not thin card, it's a thin board, so it's firm. A thin card can actually bend, so I do it on a thin card. I'm going to take that off in a minute to show you. So this is going to be to go on flat on top of a cake. So you can see I've embossed the big, you don't have to go too heavily with it because I am going to put icings on top. So I'll do a blue background. I've already coloured some flour paste here. Let's just put that sugar paste back there. Got knives clanging everywhere. Right. So just work it, like so. And then just roll out your paste. So it's the book cover that we're doing. in the blue. We don't have to do anything to the pages, we can just leave those as they are. Obviously I'll go over them with the white satin just to make them stand out. Okay, so you might as well just trex the whole of the cutter because we will be using it all. Like so. And then I'm pressing around where the edge of the book will be, and that little funny shape bit there. If you have a look at your embossed pattern, you'll see where you're going with that one. Don't know what that is. A little dot. There's something there. Right. Okay. So I'm going to take this from around the outside edge. I'm just going around with my knife because it's not a cut line, it's an embossed line. And I'll show you the embossed ones in a minute. Right, so I'm just going to take that as a separate piece. I don't use my craft knife only because I don't want to mark my board, this grey board. So if you were going to use your craft knife and you had a nice board, I would suggest that you put this onto a little cutting board. Right, okay, so now I don't need all that. Right, around like so. Just to get rid of all the other bits that we don't need. Okay, so the first piece I'm going to put on is this bottom trim. Make sure you've got it nice as loose as you can. And then again, just water's fine. You don't need anything too. Right. You don't need anything too strong. It's just you're only putting the pieces on a plaque. So I'm going to take that off there. Make sure it's loose. Lift that on like so. And start at that end so we get it the right way. Right. It's just rolled over, so I can't quite make out the flat part on that. That'll do. Right. And then this little bit here. And then the top of the book. Take the pages away. Put that one on there. And then we don't need the pages. We don't need the tassel. We just need this part. And obviously you can write initials and things, or the date on the book, something like that, or around the top of the plaque. But just press it down so that you can't see the embossed line. You're filling that space. Just give it a little press with your finger. Okay. So we're not, as I say, we're not doing the pages on this. But I am going to just brush over that with white satin. I'm doing that now because I don't want to have the black tassel on there and then I'm fluffing around with the white. So just make sure that's all nice and straight. So you can see, can you see that the shine on the pages? It just makes those pages nice. You can put a little bit of gold on there as well if you wanted to. Right, so then I'm switching to white. So this is for the scroll. So I lifted it, so I'll have to re-roll. So I just need that end and that end. So that part and that part. Moisten with your water, which is now pink, but it won't matter. Water on there. Just that little bit there needs to be cut away. Sorry, I'm mumbling, aren't I? I do this at Dems as well. I start to mumble. Right. And that fits in there. Just make sure it all goes together. And then this side, don't need that bit. Need that bit. A little water. Like so. Do a little press around the edge, just make sure you've covered the line, the embossed line. You don't want to see an embossed line on there. Just doesn't look right. And then the black paste. So give it a little roll. Roll, don't lift. Remember, if you've got any questions, if I don't see them now, I will answer them later on. I'll do my best to. And if you have any requests, this was a request. Well, the bookends was a request, and the numbers at the beginning. So if you have anything that you really want to see, or if you're okay and we just go along with whatever, then if there's anything, let me know. Okay, so I'm just going to cut out that little tassel first of all. I need that. Okay, take this away. Don't need the scroll now. But we need everything else on there. Put that to one side. I'm just going to moisten with water. Now this, obviously, normally you work from the background to the foreground. So the pages being the furthest thing away, the book itself went over the pages, and now this is going over the scroll. It should look as though it's in front of. So just ease that into place. Give a bit of a press. Okay, so the top of this mortarboard would be in front of the part that sits on the head, wouldn't it? Just make sure you get that nice and neat. Give that a bit of a press. Okay, so I'm going to take this piece that I've already rolled out, re-roll because I've lifted it. And this time I just need the top part. I hope I've got enough of the tassel there. Soon find out. Okay. Don't need that part that goes on the head, it's just the top piece that we need. Just tidy away any little scraggy bits. So it's all about working to the foreground. So pop that on top. And because of that, you don't want to be pressing too much around the outside edge here on the inner part, because otherwise you're just going to squash it down and it won't look as though it's in front. That's all right. So that, just need to pull that so you don't see two layers. Not bothered about pressing around the outside edge because that's only sort of one layer, but here you want it to look as though it's in front of that bit. So just get all that nicely pressed round. Okay, so then if you get some, you could put an extra, well, I will do, I'll do it properly. I won't skip corners. So let's do this tassel because that would be right at the very front, wouldn't it? The top layer. I can hear the bin men outside. Isn't it funny how children grow up? Jacob just absolutely adored the bin men when he was little. And we used to stand outside, come hail, sleet, snow, burning hot sun, whatever. So we can smelly bins, everything. So he could see the bin men. And now I don't even think he can, well, I think he can remember, but at age 7, you just walk past it. You're like, right, okay. All the neighbours used to laugh at me. I'd be standing outside with the two of us under a brolly, watching them. It's lovely. Happy days. Right, so whether you think it's worth the effort of doing that extra layer of tassel, but we've got the layers on there, and then you can just get a bit of glue on there and just run your brush a little darker blue underneath where the hat is and the scroll. You've got a bit of shading on there. Okay, so if you were going to put that on top of a cake, let me just move that out of the way. You would, I don't know if this is fully dry, but let me just try and ease it from, yeah, the board. So when I covered the board, I always roll out on Trex anyway, so that was enough to hold it on the board. And then I take it off and I've got a nice thin plaque, and that can sit on top of my cake. So let me move this out of the way. So I've got this cake here. Well, I'll put it on top. It's here. No, I won't. I'll show you this part in a minute because that goes on to a different thing. I just wanted to, before I did that, to show you about putting these as presents. So I've done exactly the same thing here. So you can put the plaque and make it onto a plaque. But this time I'm just going to I'll use piping jelly to pop this on. Just trying to keep it in order. I don't want to jump about from one cake to another. Right, so little palette knife, that'll do. Piping gel onto your cookie. Don't know what those spots are. I think it was a bit of ginger, to be honest. But these are only for demonstration purposes, so I'm not that bothered. I've got my cookie ready. So this time it's much quicker. You'll be pleased to know. I'll still go over with the white satin. So that's going to be the very first thing that I do. So that's over the pages. All right. And then instead of cutting out the blue, I'm just going to paint it in. So get my blue, get my alcohol. Just paint that book part in there. Just work that on. Now this blue is a pearl colour. It's blue ice, I'm not quite sure. I'll have a look. It's well, blue shimmer, but blue ice, blue shimmer, whatever. But the shimmers always go on nice when you paint them, as opposed to just a flat colour. Right, so I'm just going to use a finer brush here. Okay. So just around the edge of this. This is number 3, I think. I can't see it that off. But number 3 I would use. Right, so just tidy that bit up there. This little bit along here, so you can see how much quicker it is. Just tidy that up a bit. Okay. And then I've already cut out my pieces here. So you can cut out the scroll, or you can just paint that in white. Where's my brush? Or you can just dust it. Just dust that in white. But I have, rather than paint the black, which can go a bit streaky, I have cut them out. So I've already done that on there. And again, you can just have one layer of the whole thing, or you can build up the layers as I've done there. So I've already cut these out just to save time. And so these could go on party boards for the reception after the presentations. So there's my other one. So you could have them all cut out ready to just pop on, as I'm doing now. As long as they're covered. There you go. Okay, so that's your cookie. So I've got some here, some other ones that I've done. I've actually cut out the white scroll, so you can see them on there. Or you could just bag them, as I've done here. Going to get a flashback off that, I suppose, but bag them up to the little gifts. If you're having a bit of a party and nobody wants to get black icing on the teeth, not a good look. they might want to take them home and have them later. But I like those. I think they're nice for a graduation. Okay, so I'm just going to now go on to the bookends. I'll just pull those back in actually, just to show you that if you had these on a big party board, and that's when you would have your little cookies to match. Move that out of the way. Yeah, so you've got your little cookies or your little cupcakes. So you can just do exactly the same with those. They're just painted. All right. Right. Move those out. Now, get all the crumbs off. So for the bookends then, that's this cutter. This is going to go around the side of the cake. So I don't really want to, obviously I wouldn't use flour paste. I don't want to have anything that solid when I come to eat it. And even with Tylo powder added to it, I still think that would be a bit firm to eat. So what I'm doing now, I'm just using sugar paste without anything added to it at all. I'll just give that a knead. So, we all okay up to now? No questions, have we? I can't see that far. Need new glasses. I could put my readers on and then I wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. Is it better to use colouring paste or dust colours to colour flour paste? You can use gel colours to colour flour paste, yeah. But for painting, I do like the dust colours with alcohol, only because I can remove mistakes really easily. Because the paste colours tend to stain the icing, whereas the dust colours just sit on top and you can wipe them away or scrape them away. But it's entirely up to you what you like working with. So I'm rolling this to the thickness that you would have on your cake. Okay, so just on there. Marion, can we buy the number cutters from you? Yes, I'm not quite sure if we've got them in stock. We might have a couple of sets there now. The celebration numbers are the one that I demonstrated before. They're a really nice size. And I usually have them with it, like if I'm making a model of an animal, it's a nice size for the animal to hold. So you can have quite a few on there. Will you be getting any Lilac Whisper and Blue Ice just back in stock, Marion? I will, yes. I'll get in touch with Margaret and get another order in. Yeah, they're nice colours, aren't they? The Blue Ice and Lilac Whisper, I love them. Right, and my husband has a bin man. Oh, he's been a bin man for 40 years. Kids love them. Oh, I know. We went through that. We had to buy the toy bin lorry, and oh, I absolutely loved them. And they all waved. It was lovely. They all waved to him across the road. Right, so I'm moving this up only to give me a nice straight line to cut round. Okay, so go along like that. Now I'm just going to cut this out. You could do this on a separate board if you wanted to, and just leave them to firm up without having to lift them now. You could just leave them for half an hour to firm. Right, so just going to take that. So I've got all my bookends embossed on there. I'm going to lift that onto a little board or something. Oh, it's this one. Okay, so as I say, if you roll that out on a larger board and then cut them all out and leave them for half an hour, they won't distort, because it's important that your books aren't wobbly on the side of your cake. I think I've got a couple of wobbly ones on mine. So I'm just going to
just tap that back in. So you could work on one, and then I'm going to paint this now. But if you've got about 4 on the go, that's great. Right, so if you want a sort of pretty looking bunch of books, then I would go for the paler colours. If you want something a bit blokish, a bit more, well, I shouldn't say that really, because girls read those, you know, depends what you're reading really, doesn't it? Let's find my brush, where have I put that? That's it. But you'll see the difference when I show these cakes in a minute. Right, so you're just going to go over with your dust colours, like so. Now on the ends here, just go over that end, make sure that you've got that. And the top, go over the top bit. And you can do a couple of the blue ones, just nice long sweeping strokes on there, and then across that centre. Now it's a bit patchy, but I quite like that actually. I think it looks all right. Bit of shading as you go. Right, so then I'll go for that green. So I'll pop that in there and just do a big, that's a bold one, isn't it? All the way down, nice long strokes, don't dilly-dally. The more that you are wiping this wet brush onto your icing, the more you're taking the top surface, and that's when it starts to go really streaky, because you're taking the top surface off. I'll just do 2 of each of these colours. I'll do this one. So I'm not doing 2 colours next to each other just for a minute, because they do have time to dry then before you go on to the next. So I'll do this lemon one. This not unlike the orchid white actually, is it? I'll do a pink. Across the top edge. Like so. I'll do this one pink as well. Top edge. Brush all the way down. This is still with my number 5 brush. And then I'll go with a lilac. Down here, top edge and down. Just going over the ends there as well. So I'm just doing a very pale wash on this. Okay. So then, when you've done all 4 or 5 or whatever, however many you decide to, if you think it's a bit streaky, you can, as soon as it's dried, you can then go over with a bit of dry dust, and that just settles it all down nicely. Okay. Right, so let me just move these out of the way while I bring this cake in. So if you have a cake, I've got one here that I've just, it's the old pink one that I keep bringing back in all the time. Let's have a look and see. Right, so you can see where I put the plaque now. I popped that on the top from before. You can put a bit of lace around there or whatever you want to. But this is the bookends that I've already put on there. So you would lift that and just use water on the back of, because you're putting it on sugar paste, unlike the other one, which I'll explain about that one in a minute. Okay, so you're just going up to there, and then you're going to lift this and very carefully just hold it like so, and just join the ends up. I'll just move this round now so you can see. Okay, and then just use your smoother just to go over that. So just rock it round. Just no good going over with your hands because you're probably going to smudge everything. So just rock that round over the join there. Bit gungy, but hey ho, it's all right. It's still a bit wet there, so you know you can, as I say, give it half an hour, and then you would make sure that your tops are painted in. You could, with a number 1 piping nozzle, just go over the tops with a little ziggy line so it looks like pages, or just mix a bit of colour and just go over these tops so that you haven't got the white edge there. So you can see I've done that on the other one. So it's blue. Okay, so you just touch that up. So you just work your way along, tidying that up. And then just going to use the smaller brush again, number 3. And a yellow gold, so I'm going in for this nice yellow gold here. And then all the patterns on here, again, once you've covered the cake, once everything is all nicely dried, and at least for an hour anyway. So this is a yellow gold. It's whatever colour you want to do. And then you have to think of names of books that you're going to write on, like How to Survive on a Student Loan and things like that. That's what I did for ours. How to cook. How to iron. But you're just going to go round like that. I don't want to spend too much time on this. But as you can see from there, it makes, oh, I've missed a bit. It makes a nice deal of difference. Yeah, so I would say next day, or if you do that in the morning, then at night, then you can just use your food colouring pen just to write some, oh, excuse me, book titles up there. Now let me move this one out of the way. So that is just sort of coming halfway up the cake. If you have a really deep cake, because when I brought this particular cutter out, I'll just drop my pen. That was the depth of the cake. It was a standard 3-inch. Now, of course, they are much deeper. Excuse me, I'm going to drink the 4, 6, whatever. So if you've got a really deep cake, I'll show you what to do with that one. Let me move this out of the way. Okay, so I'm working on a dummy here. But you can see what you do is, to start with, you would ice, well, you haven't actually got to ice the sides. You would take a template of your top. So that would be a 7 or 8 inch. Then you make a paper template and put that on the top, like so. And then put a cocktail stick in and leave it in there. So then you get your knife, a long knife, and you start to make your pages. So just mark the top into sections, and then it's in between all those sections. And the point of your knife, so mark it and then go back. The point of your knife is always towards the cocktail stick, otherwise you'll start to lose it and go across and it doesn't look right. So that would be your top. Now the sides of your cake would be buttercream. So what I would do now is attach that onto your buttercream cake. So I'm just going to put some Trex on there. That'll act as my buttercream. So no matter how deep your cake, it's difficult to judge everybody's cakes, but you do need to have that nice sharp buttercream top. And you can see on here I've used the mortarboard and the books to emboss around the side, because I was going to put cupcakes on there, but I decided to put this on instead because I was running out of time. So you can see all these little things on here. Right, so always start at the top, right? So I've just done, I'm not going to do it now, but this is another one of what I just made there before on the other cake. So paint it up, put it on, but put it so that it's at the top of there. And then you put, if it's a double layer, obviously, unless it's very long, you know, you're going to do it freehand. Let me put that back up there a minute. You then need to make shelves for them to go on. So it's brown paste. I've got some brown paste under the pots. Oh, there it is. So it's brown paste, and you're just going to roll it so that it's still quite chunky. Okay, and then just flatten it off like that. And so when you put that on the side of your cake, you would then get your Dresden tool, and when it's in position, just start to make some wood grain effect on there. So it looks like wood, and then across the top. And then you would put your, let me explain again. So there's, you've got your shelf on. You cut out the next one, the next layer of books, and put that underneath. And then you finish off the gap with another shelf. So it's easy to do that. So work from the top down. And then in between that, you can either roll very thin sausages of paste and just place them next to each other so you've got your bookends. Or, as I've done, you can type. So let me have a look here and see if this is still okay. So this is royal icing, which I've just covered for it to be. I can't talk and pipe at the same time. And then you just, it's quite soft, so you can just wiggle along the top there. Use a paintbrush to tidy that up. And then drop another one down. So you've got the ends of your books, the edges of your books there. Okay, so then on the top of this, when you take that out, you think, well, you need something there to tidy that up. So I would put my mortarboard on there. So I've just quickly, just a couple of minutes to show you this mortarboard that I've made. I'll put that back over there. So you take your black flour paste. I'm only going to explain it. I'm not going to do it. That's right. So you take your so a mould. It could be a bean tin. It could be anything. I'm using one of our little styrofoam things there. And you wrap your black flour paste around it. Put it to whatever height you want. It's a bit wibbly wobbly that, but to whatever height you want. And then you cut out a circle to match the base, the size, and then roll a sausage of paste and secure it on the inside. So you've got your base stuck to your circle, if you like, yeah? And that then you can fill with sweets. You can put car keys in for the new car that you're giving them. You can put airline tickets for a holiday. Whatever you want to put in there, you can put in there. So put that to one side. So then you're going to cut a square, and I've put a sausage of paste on there so that when that goes on top, it's not going to slide off. So bring that back there. Okay, so that's going nowhere. And then I've made some, I've rolled out, oh, good job nobody's eating this. Right, I've rolled out a strip of paste, as you can see on there. Okay, and I cut it into lots of little jagged little strips. So just hold the top like so. Don't throw it on the floor like that. Put those on as well. Give a little pinch to start to dry out, so it's not pinching that well. So that can go over there, wherever you want it to be. If you choose your best, flatten that down, choose your best side, and pop that on. And then a little button. So a piece of paste, and then all I've done is mark off a few pattern designs on top, and then that can go on there. And the scroll that I've made, just make sure that's going to fit. I've made it's just a strip of white paste rolled up, and I've wrapped it around a rolling pin, not my grey one, but a little rolling pin, which I was there, but it's probably shot off somewhere. And I've just put a little blue ribbons, but you can make a ribbon, you can do your own ribbon on there, and so that can go on top of the stacked book cake. So let's just put that back. Ooh. As you can imagine, the table's a complete mess, but hey ho. Wouldn't be me if I didn't make a mess with it. So that could go on the top, your little box. Choose your best angle. That can go on the top, and then your little scroll can cover up any mistakes. Okay, so I mean, it doesn't have to be for a graduation, does it? If you've got a library nearby, if you've got somebody who just likes reading, and when you look at that, it could be a cake that deep. It doesn't have to be a double decker. It's just that if you've got a big party to cater for, then yeah, even put a board in between and down the bottom. It's treat it as two separate cakes. It's entirely up to you. The other thing I will say, when you're painting, if you think, oh, that's a bit of a mess, I don't like the look of that one, then you can roll out some coloured icing and just press over with your books, cut out a piece and put it on top. So I've done that with a few of these actually. That one, that one, that one, that one. And it looks okay because you're making, they're not just all flat as books would be different depths. So yeah, just take your time and have a little play. And then again, you've got to think of all your book titles. Right, so that's it. End of today's dem. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've got lots of ideas. And I think that's all. Yeah. Next week, I'm thinking of doing the patchwork squares because you can use those for so many things. You get obviously pattern squares, plain squares, a bit of a lace. So that and probably the lamb and babies to go with it, but I'll think about that one. So thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it. And Tracy's on holiday for a while. So a couple of weeks, I think. So she is going to come back on, but we'll let you know when. Okay. So thank you. Have a lovely weekend. And I've got a fox to make. See you soon. Bye.